It's June 9th, and we can now say the Ukrainian counteroffensive has probably been going on since Sunday, June 4th, and it's starting to take shape. And what we're seeing and ISW is assessing, is that there are three directions of attack. One are the counterattacks around Bakhmut that have gotten a fair amount of press. Then there are attacks around Donetsk in kind of the western part of the Donetsk province. And these are probably fixing attacks, right? Meant to keep Russian forces who were on the offensive recently, so there are a lot of forces there trying to keep them in place. Meanwhile, there's been one smallish attack in Zaporizhzhia that has gotten a little bit of footage, although it's competing with Trump indictments and flooding and smoke from Canada. But these are the three attacks that I think are really significant here. Let's take a closer look at them. So first of all, I mentioned, we talk about CNN and what they've got going on. They've been playing this footage from Russia, right? And at this point, we're dependent on Russia for most of our information because the Ukrainians are being very tight-lipped. And Russia has shown some aerial footage of the fighting, and this would be the fighting in Zaporizhzhia, and not the fixing attacks around Bakhmut and Donetsk. And here we have footage of, basically these are Leopard tanks, and at least one is burning, not doing so well. However, this attack here, right, while the overarching story is, oh, they faced stiff resistance, and in fact, we do have to say, the Ukrainians attacked Russian positions and the Russians responded doctrinally, right? That is to say, the plan of defending a position like this, especially in the Soviet/Russian playbook, is that you have a forward position, fortifications, minefields. The enemy attacks you, pushes you out of your initial line of defense back to a second line of defense, from which you counterattack, right? As they're stringing through, taking losses, you counterattack to reestablish that front line. Looks to be exactly what the Russians did in a textbook manner. So good on them, because they haven't been doing well, although we might be rooting for the Ukrainians. We do have to recognize that they are performing competently here. And so that is interesting, and that may be sort of what the Ukrainians are trying to find out. This attack looks to be a probe. This does not seem to be a big attack. Maybe company, battalion size, probably battalion size, supported by a brigade. So, one brigade is probably involved in supporting this with just one of its battalions going forward, although that's speculation. The thing is, though, Ukraine has 12 brigades earmarked for this counteroffensive. And ISW assesses that only a minor portion has been committed so far, right? So they still have a number of brigades that they haven't committed. So this to me looks like a probe. They are probing the lines, and in a probe, you demonstrate, you attack with enough forces that it's not suicide for your guys, and enough that the enemy doesn't just, treat it as a flea bite, but you make them respond. You make them shoot their artillery. You make them show their hand, right? And this is something, by the way, the United States doesn't really do much in warfare because we have such overwhelming advantages, because it's costly. People are out suffering. They suffered losses. They've lost at least one Leopard and probably more in this attack. But they are probing, figuring out, how are their defenses, where are things, and probably this is a precursor to the main effort, and they're going to learn from what, they got the intelligence. They're going to work on taking out all the systems that unmasked is the way of saying it, but everyone who shot at them when they were attacking is going to be shot back at, and that allows them to prep the assault. And so we're probably going to see more here. This in Zaporizhzhia is probably the main event, right? Trying to get down, right? This is where the attack occurred, and this area here is on the way to Bakhmut and eventually Melitopol. This is probably where the main effort is going to go. And so this is, even though it's a small attack, this is where I would be keeping the focus.